I made a good choice. Name that movie. Cars.
Oh.
In what? My Best Friend. Channel. We're so glad that you're here today and that you're watching our How We Met, How We Started Dating story. This will be going in my new playlist called Marriage in the Making. Pretty cute, I know. I have a whole bunch of them to go along with my life. So Mallory in the Making, Marriage in the Making, they'll just keep coming. Anyway, so today we're going to bring you our story, kind of both sides of the story of how we met and how we started dating and what we were each thinking at that time. So let's get into it. Robert and I were both in a professional music fraternity when we got to Texas State. Robert was a freshman, I was a junior when we got into this. It was the spring of 2015, and both of my roommates were Mu Phi and dripped Mu Phi to me from the minute I started living with them. We were kind of randoms because I had just moved to San Marcos and somehow they needed a roommate, I needed a place to stay, so that's how it all worked out. But they were both Mu Phi Epsilon members, and they wanted me to become Mu Phi Epsilon, and I was like, no, I had done the sorority thing when I was at Tamook, and I loved my sisters, but it just took up a lot of time, and I didn't think that I had the time for another fraternity, because that's what Mu Phi is. It's a professional fraternity because there's boys and girls in it. But they pulled my leg a little bit, and so I rushed Mu Phi, and that was the reason that I rushed. Why did you rush?
I rushed Mu Phi Epsilon because, well, as I always tell everybody, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And based on the outcomes, I'd say this is a good choice. At the time, I wanted to be a music educator, and so I looked at all the choices of the fraternities offered, and Mu Phi seemed to be the best choice at the time, my freshman year in college.
Yeah, Mu Phi is a professional music fraternity with music educators, performance majors, so it could have been really anybody. It's one of the only co-ed music fraternities on campus. So Robert and I both rushed for the spring of 2015, and Robert was one of the only 2 boys that rushed and that were in our class out of 18 of us. I'm pretty sure there was 18 of us, and so that's a lot of girls to 2 boys. And Robert, I don't know if Robert knows this, but I mean, he might be because he's kind of smiling, who knows. But a lot of the girls in our class had a little bit of a crushy crush on Robert. We all thought he was so cute. He didn't have facial hair back then, actually. The night we rushed, you didn't have any facial hair.
Oh, yeah,
you grew it, but I mean, he didn't have any facial hair.
I look like a 3rd grader.
But I remember specifically, like, being at rush events and then being at our actual class events and being like, he's really cute. But he was a freshman at the time, and so I didn't know if I really wanted to get involved with that kind of thing. Plus, what we then found out at our first banquet for Mu Phi was he wasn't available at the time. Like, there was already somebody attached to his arm. So we loved him anyway. We were like brother and sister, you know, through the fraternity, and we all got to be pretty close that semester. We went through the entire spring 2015, fall 2015, spring 2016, and in the summer of 2016, Robert suddenly became available, and I was available at the time, and we had both kind of gone through a little, he had been through a much bigger breakup, I had been through a little small breakup. We were texting about something, I don't remember what we were texting about, but I remember Pokemon Go was like a big thing back then, so we were talking about like the Pokemon that we had gotten. Now, I am not into Pokemon, but everybody was doing it, and it was like choir camp thing, but he was really into it. And so we would talk about Pokemon all the time, and then after
we started talking, we both realized that we had a lot in common. She was from a smaller town, Victoria, and I was from a small town, Bernie, and we both, you know, had similar interests in some respects, and we, you know, had similar situations where, you know, her family has a ranch, and then, you know, my family lives out on some land as well. So we had a lot in common there, you know, from growing up and, you know, dealing with things and whatever. So, you know, we found a lot to talk about and laugh about and joke about, so that's how we sort of kept the conversation going.
And it was like every day towards the end of the summer, like the end of July, beginning of August, we texted like every single day. Now I, at the time, was a little suspicious and was like, ooh, does Robert like me? I'd gotten the whole like freshman, fresh meat thing, didn't really care the fact that he was a little younger than I was, because he's pretty mature for his age. But I was like, does he maybe, like, am I feeling something here? So a couple weeks later, towards the beginning of school starting,
we organized that at my parents' place, just sort of a, you know, before school, or, you know, before the semester started. We just went out and, you know, we ate good food, shot some guns, ate good food again.
Yeah, his mom is a wonderful cook.
And so we do this pretty regularly, not, you know, all the time, but we try and do it just because it's fun, and, you know, having family and friends out. And I don't remember why, but for whatever reason, I was like, oh, well, you know, Mallory and I have been talking. I'll invite her out. You know, she'll have fun. This is, you know, something she'd enjoy. And so I did, and to my surprise, she said yes.
Let me cut in. I thought this was our first date. Like, honestly, I really thought, oh my gosh. I remember running into my mom's bedroom and be like, Mom, oh my gosh, Robert invited me to go out to his parents' house. We were making stuff for my room that day because I was moving. Imagine that, I'm always moving. But, or we're always moving now. And I was like so excited that he invited me to go out to his parents' house. So I showed up the next day, not really knowing exactly what was gonna go on, this is not funny, in cute capri pants with like ripped up, you know, like real trendy, and a cute little like tank top that it took me like an hour to figure out exactly what I was gonna wear. And then I wore something over it, like a little cardigan over it, and I was wearing really cute shoes. So I really legitimately thought that this was like a date. He was asking me on the first date.
I'm oblivious to things because I'm a guy. So even though I was like, you know, basically doing the chit chat and start dating thing, it didn't register to me that that's what was going on. I was just talking to her because, you know, she was fun to talk to, and, you know, we'd laugh and all sorts of things.
In my mind, I'd already planned our wedding, what our kids' names were going to be, what we were going to look like when we grew older together. Little did I know he wasn't planning the same thing, so...
I mean...
Yet. Let's get on to the next part of the story. So next part of the story, fast forward to about October that year, and we had retreat, kind of like you see on the vlogs sometimes, where we go out to my grandparents' ranch. It's been at my grandparents' ranch for a couple times now. So we went out there, and my dad had told me that we could go sit in the deer blind if we wanted to and look for hogs. So I tell Robbie this, and the whole time I am like gunning for his attention. So I wore like my cutest pajamas, and I made sure not to take my makeup off until the very last minute. And so I was like, hey, do you want to go sit up in the deer blind? And he's like, yeah, sure. Now we had been talking, and we had gone to dinner after a MUFI meeting at one point. And he had mentioned how people thought we were dating, and we just kind of laughed it off like awkwardly. But we go up into the deer blind, and it's completely dark. You know, we're looking through the little like hole for the deer blind, looking at the binoculars, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, Robbie says, sorry I haven't asked you like on an official date yet. And I was like, so he does like me. Like then it was like, okay, now I know for sure that he likes me. And then after that, it was like we would flirt a lot. And a couple days later, my work always had a pumpkin decorating contest around Halloween where you could like paint it, you could glitter, do it, whatever you wanted to. So we were gonna do that little pumpkin, and we were gonna do big pumpkins. My roommates and then my good friend Alicia and I were gonna do this. And so I was telling Robert about it because we were texting, and he was like, do you mind if I come help? And I was like, well, of course you can come help. So we came over and we made this little Harry Potter pumpkin. We made this really cute pumpkin to go outside. I have pictures of it somewhere. So I kind of put him through a little bit of a test. I asked my friend Alicia, hey, do you know how to two-step? Do you want to two-step with me? Just like around the kitchen island. And she was like, no, I don't want to two-step. Why don't you ask Robert? And Robert didn't know how, but he like tried to learn. So we still like dance around the kitchen sometimes. It's really cute. But that night he had to leave, and I was like, all right, it's now or never. He's either gonna hold my hand, or he's gonna kiss me, or he's gonna ask me out or something. So we walk outside, and he's leaning against, I remember this specifically, he's leaning against his truck, old gray, and we're talking, and he just reaches out and grabs my hand. I don't remember any of the conversation after that. I don't even know if I even could speak after that because I was so excited that he finally held my hand.
So it was, I think, later that week or the week after. I don't remember which. Was it later that week?
It was like 2 days later.
Okay, so a couple days after the pumpkin carving thing, we had a Mu Phi Epsilon recital that we were both performing as well. And then we went to dinner after that. And
with the entire like with a bunch of people from Mu Phi.
Yeah, it wasn't just us. It's a, you know, usual Whataburger run. And so after that, because we both took the same car because her car was closer, she drove me to the parking lot where my truck was, and we got out and we were talking and whatever. And then I was like, all right, well, I have to go.
I had again spent like an hour trying to figure out what I was going to wear just so I could impress him.
I mean,
apparently it didn't work.
Apparently she's always beautiful to me. So
well,
I'm just going to put that disclaimer in there.
I didn't know that at the time that you thought that.
So we were talking, whatever, and lean in, we hug, and then we start going in for a kiss, and I got cold feet and turned it into just like a full-on bear hug. And then I awkwardly got in my truck and drove away.
And I had onions on my salad that night, so I was like, oh my gosh. I had the worst breath. He didn't want to kiss me. Oh my gosh. I was like going through all these scenarios in my head. He didn't text me for a long time after that, so I was like, this is it. I ruined it with my nasty onion breath. I killed it. But then he texted me and was like, sorry I got cold feet and didn't kiss you tonight. And I was like, whew! There's still some fire there.
I had to go to a recital for one of my classes.
It was a voice recital for the teacher that taught my vocal pedagogy class, who I loved, and he was going to be there, so he asked me to go with him, and of course I couldn't say no. We sat in the very back, and I was so upset about sitting in the very back because I never sit in the back of recitals, but he wanted to sit back there and be on his phone. Anyway, so after the recital,
we stood around in the parking lot talking for a long time. And then I made up some BS about wanting help with a oral assignment for sight singing. And then I went back to my apartment and we just, you know, we pretended to work on that. And we sat down on the couch and we were talking and laughing and listening to music.
For a long time.
Yeah, it was probably like 12, 15 when she finally got up. She had to go, you know, class and work the next day. And so I made up my mind, you know, as we stood up that I was going to kiss her. And so I leaned in and she leaned in and that was our first kiss.
Do you want to tell the other embarrassing part that happened?
What?
When you walked me to my car?
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Can I tell the story?
Fine.
So he walks me out to my car and it was out of habit. I mean, it wasn't like he did it on purpose. It was just, you know, you tell somebody, well, so he walks down to my car and he's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow or I'll text you or something. I'm like, all right, bye. And he goes, love you. And I was like, love you too. But it was kind of awkward because we had just had our first kiss, weren't technically dating yet. And yeah, it was a little awkward, but it was kind of cute too. But we finally made it official like a couple days later. He was at my house and we were watching a movie in my room, and my roommate came in, and what were we watching? We were watching Sin City or something. Something that was weird. I had no idea what was going on.
I don't remember.
I have no idea. But anyway, so my roommate comes in and she's like, so are y'all official yet? And I looked at her and I was like, Ivy, like why would you ask that? So then she's like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to make things awkward. And she left, and we just kind of looked at each other, and he goes, do you want to make it official? I said, no, do you want to make it official? And he goes, yes, I really do. I want to make it official. We made it Facebook official that night. And here we are, almost 2 years later, engaged and getting married in a year. So, I know that I made a good choice. Name that movie. Cars.
Oh.
In what? My Best Friend. So thank you guys so much for watching this video today. We'd love to hear your how we met, how we started dating stories, so go ahead and drop those down in the comments because they're all pretty unique and special to you and your partner. We definitely can't wait to bring you more story times and more adventures while planning our wedding. If there's anything you'd like to see, also please comment that down below. I think I'm going to do something when I go to get my dress. When we do like cake testing, looking at venues, things like that. What is it that you want to see? Let us know down in the comments. But the camera's about to die and I'm pretty tired and gotta get this edited. How about you? He needs to take a nap because let me tell you, he coughed all night. But we love you all and God bless you.